What's going on, guys? It's X, and it's been a minute, but I wanted to actually take a look at the Bushiroad earnings report discussion about the whole, they're going to release a new TCG in 2024, and what that means for not just Bushiroad itself, but for the rest of the market as a whole. So, with that, let's kind of get started. So here we are. So if you haven't known that Bushiroad released their latest earnings report around like a couple weeks ago, and in it they announced that they will officially announce a new TCG in 2024. Um, why? I don't know, but it's kind of crazy when you think about it because the amount of like TCGs Bushiroad has right now is already staggering. Like I'm about to pull up right here and kind of talk about it, but right now. So let's kind of go over all the TCGs that Bushiroad has currently. We have Vanguard, Weiss Schwartz Blau, Rebirth, Shadows Evolve, and now you want to also add in a 6 TCG in that. Now I just kind of like talked about that before. Now, granted, Vanguard and Weiss are Vanguard, Weiss, and Evolve are the currently like global TCGs, which is the ones that are already out in the globally and out much. Weiss Schwartz Blau and Rebirth are JP exclusive only, and for right now. And well, we'll talk about it in a second. But as we look at this script, we have like we have Vanguard, Shadowverse, Weiss, Rebirth and other TCGs or whatnot. And so they plan to also say they're going to increase like the dedication to cover Vanguard for 2024. And that's cool and all, but I want to kind of talk about kind of how this is going to pretty much mean for the rest of the market. So firstly, let's take a look at this other section right here, which is the past Bushiroad games that have, just kind of not existed anymore. Like they're retired, they've been canceled, they're done. Right? We have Luck and Logic, a game that was too complicated for its own good, and as much as I loved it and the IP itself, it just was not going to survive with the way it was structured. Right? Then we have Chaos CCG, which was a Weiss sister game that just unfortunately died like a couple years ago too. I think last year probably, but it's gone now, so that's unfortunate. Dragonborn died because of, I would argue, some hubris, and just it came out at probably the worst time considering it was announced, or rather leaked / announced around the same time that the English version of Luck and Logic died, which didn't help at all with its argument of we're so ready to have another game. Buddy Fight is in a weird spot because even though it was canceled, if you haven't seen one of the latest videos, Thailand is going to drop a sort of reboot after they clean up the rest of the original releases that were released for Buddy Fight. So they're going to reboot it and have their own new cards and new system. They've already shown like a rework, which I don't think I've actually gone over completely over that, but actually I think I did. Yes, I did. But there's more info that's going to come out soon. And so this is what people are also speculating is like what's going to happen is like they're going to adapt the Taiwanese Buddy Fight reboot into just the actual like full roster and kind of like revive Buddy Fight, which while I would be cool with that, I don't know if that'd be a great idea right now. And that's just right. And there's other games too that a lot of people know. There's Alex X Cross, which is a weird game. I never heard of it until I looked on the wiki. Five Cross, which is another collab game, and then you have Victory Spark. I don't know much about the last three, but that's kind of the point. So that's a lot of games that have already like fallen under Bushiroad's control. A lot of them, four of them pretty high profile considering Dragonborn Buddy Fight lasted for 7 years, was closely tied with Vanguard. Dragonborn was their attempt at making a Magic the Gathering clone. Luck and Logic was their first like big IP after they had Vanguard and Weiss and Buddy Fight all kind of succeed technically. Chaos was there in Japan only, it was living for a long time. So all these like big profile games living for a long time, only for them to get cut down. And then like right now we've got 5 currently, three globally, and 2 Japanese exclusive. And then you want to add a 6th game into that mix again. You've already kind of cut out some other games before, and it's like, I don't know if you should do that. That's just my opinion, right? At the end of the day, Bushiroad wants to be an IP company. They want to have a bunch of IPs, and they want to be and according to report, they want to be the #1 TCG company in the world. I do not know what that means or what it entails, and I'm honestly kind of like confused if they even know what that means or entails, because of just how the way things go. So let's just kind of like go over each thing. So let's go over each kind of game, kind of like what this means for those games. So Showers Evolve, we're gonna start here, and really Showers Evolve I think is going to be fine ish. Like, I mean, the problem with this whole TCG thing is obviously Showers Evolve just came out. It's over a year since it released. It released in April, I believe, April 2022 in Japan, and it just came out barely like up 2 months into the West. So that's already kind of like questionable. Like, we're 2 months into a global release of Showers Evolve, and then you're saying, next year we're also got another card game, when we're already so behind Showers Evolve. And now, granted, Showers Evolve is also a collaboration with Side Games Bushiroad, so it's not their true IP, right? This is more so just a collab IP. They're just, they're collabing together, right? So they're 50-50, meaning if it fails, it's technically on both of them for how it fails. So that is, everything. So they technically wouldn't have to count Showers Evolve as their own IP and everything. So I think Showers Evolve is gonna be fine, right? Showers Evolve is, again, based on its own situation, is fine. Whereas on that note, I think Rebirth for You is on its way out at this point. Like, it has been a unfortunate, I won't say unfortunate, I don't really know the status of Rebirth for You in Japan, but I would say probably one of the biggest problems with Rebirth is when the Genshin Impact the booster that was supposed to be worked on was going to be part of the game. It got announced last year, I believe, last year or early this year, that it was no longer going to be happening. I think you pretty much had the equivalent of when a beautiful girl announces that they have a relationship, realizes that they're actually in a relationship, and then you see the amount of followers and subscribers all just dip so hard at once, right? It's like, well, the one thing we're here for is no longer available to us, even though it was probably not gonna happen anyway. We're just gonna finally just kind of cut the cord and be gone. Peace, So that's just my thoughts on Rebirth. It's like, I don't know. With Genshin being gone, I'm pretty sure whatever fans are there are still gonna be there, but I don't know. That's gonna be a big question on how Rebirth kind of bounces back for that. So the next 2 strategy presentations are gonna be important for Rebirth specifically. So that's that. We've gone over the other games. Blau and Weiss Schwarz are kind of weird. I don't know anything about Blau, so I'm pretty much going to be talking mostly about Weiss Schwarz specifically, primarily here. And Weiss Schwarz is always going to be in a positive spot right now, because Weiss Schwarz is the premier collab anime game, right? It has SAO, it has Gurren Lagann, it has all these other waifu, games, right? Like, shoot. And it is not afraid to be uncensored with his art. Like, I mean, you could just look at the there was a collab thing, that a booster that had collabs from, let's just say, if one of the series in your booster is redo of healer, yeah, I think that kind of tells you how much they can go and not care. I think that just kind of shows you everything right there. That already tells you how saucy that booster was gonna be. So, like, redo of healer and Testament of Sister New Devil were like two of the series in that booster. So you can tell that, like, yeah, they didn't care. So yeah, they're not afraid to be saucy with their art, and people will just eat that up because degenerates. So, but I know that right now there's a lot of controversy about, whether or not it's worth it to invest in the English side of things, because they changed some ways how, like, signs work and whatnot, and all stuff. I don't really know that much, but I have seen, like, people upset over, like, modern sets just being not as worth it as they used to be, and whether or not you should invest in English. I know there's probably some controversy about the previous, like, restrictions and whatnot. So, if you understand why, please let me know. Let me know in the comments and kind of talk about that. So, as we go into Vanguard, I want to kind of also pull up this note. This is the trading game TCG industry top 10 information from April to the end of July. So, from April to July, this is the details. And so, I have a translation here, courtesy of a friend, and the translation, as I move it up, it says, compared to last year, how much this poll compared to last year? Pokemon is the number one game at 144%. It went up. Yu-Gi-Oh went, 75%. Duel Masters 222. One Piece 1338 because last year's projection was small. So, One Piece dropped late last year and it was a smaller production. So now they've upped the production. It has gone up tremendously. Weiss is at 234, Magic 102, 6, Shadowverse is up 73%, Battle Spirits 109%, Union Arena didn't even sell, it was just only recently this year, right? And Vanguard is up 244%. So I want to kind of put this in the description about the state of Vanguard. Vanguard selling 244% is good. The problem is when you look at when you think of all the games that would technically be around it, right? Underneath it, right? A Bell Divide, ZX, Vivids, all those other games, like, if they're below Vanguard in this period, and it's the 10th game, I don't know how that says, considering the 9th game is Union Arena, a game that quite literally pretty much went on fire sale. Like, people were trying to get rid of it for, like, low prices on their boxes. It was just, it had a terrible launch apparently, and that's, very disappointing and sad. So if it can't even outsell a game that pretty much was, like, trying to give it away, I don't know, in this time period compared to last year, I don't know if that's really a great thing, like, it went up 244% and it sold less than a game people didn't want. And Shadowverse went up 73%. So Shadowverse went up 70%. It didn't have as much growth, but that means it had way more, like, sales last year than Vanguard. Weiss definitely went up. One Piece straight up ate everybody's lunch. And Duel Master Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon are, Duel Master Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon in Japan. So, going on that note, it's nice that it's growing in the West. And there's, this whole thing. I'm going to have all these, like, notes and descriptions that you can kind of take a look yourself and kind of, give your own opinion. At the end of the day, please form your own opinions. So, on that note, the fact that Vanguard is, Japan is the 10th best-selling game, arguably, in this time frame, is interesting, but also at the same time concerning. Considering, again, Union Arena, no one wanted it. And if it's only there, also, there's also a thing I couldn't even tell you, but apparently also on the thing, I could not find the original document. I'm so sorry. I wish I could find it. If you do have the original document, also please let me know. I'll probably do like an amendment post about this. But according to this, like a lot of the sales for Vanguard came from the West, which is crazy to me. Now, let me find this real quick, and I'll be right back and kind of talk about it. So I just realized while I was trying to do all this talking, I also realized I was muted. So I gotta like repeat this whole thing again. So this is a document about all the days of Springfest this year and like how actual representation was. Why this is important is to show the actual like upgrade in the amount of players that attended the events from last year to this year. So, notice to say like pretty much a lot of people just exploded and actually started to play the game a lot more. That's really good. Congrats, we're doing it. So of course, yes, if the idea is true that a lot of people are buying more Vanguard, that should be theoretically good, right? Well, not exactly, right? I've talked about how Vanguard's issues are still the same and arguably getting worse as time is going on. The more they release like these these really like promos that aren't, I would say, powerful, but rather too important because they quite literally make the deck work. And that's where the problem comes in, right? The Minerva promo is there. We're gonna have the Kyrie promo, which I really need coming. Then we also have like Japan also has its problems too, right? People literally like if you don't buy 4 monthly Bushiroad on a pre-order, you're probably not getting the promo for that thing. So you have to then go into the secondary market, and that's gonna be hell, right? That's another thing too. So obviously we're gonna talk about this, and just a slight spoiler, I am working on the Dear Days Dear Days discussion, like a retrospective, kind of like talking about it, but that's here and there. So to me, Vanguard's issues still haven't been tied up, and I think this is where the biggest like overall thing about this whole thing is: if Bushiroad wants to be the #1 TCG company in the world, you have to make #1 company in the world moves. And a lot of the issues that currently Weiss and Vanguard have, and obviously Shadows of the Ball is more so its tournament structure in terms of like the Western ways, that's another big question. You have to like make sure all the other games are taken care of, are all in good space. You're not hearing a lot of complaints, which the problem is you're hearing too many complaints. And then you want to also drop another TCG. And it's like, so, and not only because of that, you now have players that for all these games kind of going like, hey, wait a second, what about us? We're not even stable yet, and yet you want to immediately drop another TCG? You want to drop another card game right now while we're still also dealing with this, and then you want to also focus on Vanguard, but so far the West is felt like second-class citizens despite the fact that we're the reason this game's being propped up? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And it's like, that's the problem. Like, you gotta like actually put in the work for it, otherwise it's just not gonna work. So my long story short is, I don't know if this is a good idea. We have to wait and see what the actual game is. If it's the the idea of like, oh, it's just a Buddy Fight remake coming along, or if it's a whole new IP itself, what the game entails, and see what happens. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for listening the whole way through. If you like this and want more content, excuse me, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.